Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. In a previous video comparing the 90D to the R6, I said that the R6 was probably an upgrade to the 90D, especially when we are looking at photos in overcast, shade, low light areas. So today we're going to compare high ISO photos from both of these cameras. But first I have a question for you. Can you guess which ISO this picture was taken in? Pause the video if you like, and then can you tell me which of these two photos was taken at the higher ISO? I'll give you the answers in a few minutes. So let's start with a run through of the 90D's ISO ranges for birds in low light settings. We start pretty dark and increase the ISOs until we have a decent exposure. You may notice some loss of sharpness as we increase ISO, and that is just to be expected, not with the 90D, but just with any camera. And at ISO 20,000, this image doesn't look horrible. It's a little soft, but the noise is not too terrible. And even when you crop in, it's not too bad. This is a workable image. But as we begin corrections and grading, the noise becomes much more pronounced. And noise reduction certainly helps with the noise, but we lose a little sharpness and some clarity. Now let's run through the R6's ISO range. This little wren was kind enough to stay in the same place as I made adjustments and took pictures. And these images are cropped into 200%, so we may lose a little sharpness from the crop as well. At ISO 20,000, the image looks properly exposed. But when we really crop in on the bird, it does look a little soft. But who does that, right? Besides people like us, photo camera people. With corrections and grading, this image cleans up much better than the 90D did. The noise in this image never reaches the level that it did in the 90D. And because of that, I used less noise reduction, and I think this came out pretty nice. Now back to the 90D, I took an underexposed image and I brought it up in post. And the luminance noise cleaned up nicely, but the chrominance noise is still there. Now this same image shot at ISO 10,000 doesn't look a whole lot different than the underexposed image that we had previously exposed in post. And I did the same thing with an R6 image and it cleaned up very nicely. This bird was in the shade on a mostly cloudy morning, and this looks pretty good to me. The in-camera ISO at 16,000 looks as good as the previous image did. And overall I have found that the R6 high ISO images are just cleaner than the 90D images. Here are a few others from both cameras, and what we get is this. The 90D produces much more noise than the R6 at higher ISOs, and the 90D starts producing noise much sooner than does the R6. This ultimately results in reduced sharpness in the corrected 90D images. So in these low light, shady, overcast moments, the R6 is just going to produce better images for bird photographers. So do you think you got the ISO correct for this image? It was the R6 at ISO 25,600, and that shot looks really good considering the ISO. And of these two images, did you guess that image B was the higher ISO? If so, then you were wrong. This was an underexposed shot from the 90D brought to proper exposure in post. I cleaned it as best as I could, but you can see a lot of loss on sharpness and some of that stubborn noise lingering. Well guys, that's all I have today. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out my channel for more videos like this, and I will see you next time.